everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Wednesday, January 29, 2025, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We're having a time for change call tonight after 9:15 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to unclutter things. When we talk about mastering our thoughts, it's being aware. It's a self-awareness for each of us. Not in a obstructive way or anger or frustration, but in a heart-minded way, so that we know what we're sending out. Some people might say, well, that's micromanagement. That's too much, too involved. It really isn't. It's just being aware of your thoughts that you're sending out. Now, it can get a little confusing because all of us have this mind chatter that is just bombarding us with all these thoughts on a continual basis 24/7. Yeah, even while you're asleep. And the interesting part about it is once we're aware that these are not our thoughts, they're not our thoughts. The thoughts that we have, yes, can be numerous because we're always sending out thoughts. Little ones here and there. You know, you might focus on something briefly and then you move on to something else, and it's a continual process. But when you start to be able to differentiate between the mind chatter and all these thoughts that come flooding in that seem to be attached to you or has your name on it, whatever, it feels like, well, this is my thought. But it isn't. So we just say no thank you to that thought. It passes by. And any thought that comes that way passes by. Doesn't it make sense that we create... thoughts are just thoughts. They don't have any power. They're empty vessels. The only time they have power, of course, is that when we give them that energy. Because energy, so we take that energy, we bring it into form, and we create it into our reality, and then we experience it. And it's tricky, as I've said before, is that we have some of these thoughts they're connected to past experiences and looking to the future experiences, and so it gets confusing. And it's so convincing at times. Well, this is my thought. And so you go with it, you embrace it. And a lot of the times, you've brought that thought into your reality and you're experiencing it, but you have these feelings of, this doesn't feel right. This just isn't, it's not me, right? And as we discover that what you send out is what you get every single time. And when we do that way, we're not really fixating on it, like through the ego mind. We just send it out. And then we leave it alone. And we move on, and then the next thought, and the next thought, and the next thought, and the next thought. And this is where we have to be careful on what we're manifesting, what we're creating. You could look at a situation and say, well, you could say that you don't want that to happen with you. Chances are now it's manifesting and something similar will happen. Now imagine if all of us knew that. It wasn't a guess. It wasn't an iffy. We knew it. That when we are sending thoughts out, we've got to be careful on what those thoughts are. Now, most people on this planet are not aware of it. They just, and they create their lives exactly as those lives are. Nothing else creates that life. You do. Now, some people say, well, no, there's extenuating circumstances out there. The reason this happened is because of this. Right? That's our rationalization. But whatever it is, we created. Bottom line. Now, some people will get upset about that because they go, why would I create that and experience it? Nobody in their right mind would do that. But when you're not really you don't focus on it too much, and it just shoots out there. And then when we say things on things like, we don't want this, we don't want that, I hope this doesn't happen with me. And this covers everything. It covers our bodies. It covers our daily lives. It covers all of it. And to accept that and to embrace it humbly, then we begin to peel it back, and we start to comprehend that, okay, I'm not going to send this thought out, and so I'll just dismiss it, because I really don't care to have the universe start forming it, and I bring it into my reality, and then I experience it. It's just like whatever it is you're focused on. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be anything. It might be at times to you insignificant, but you're focused on it. And so you focus on it to a certain extent, and it forms into a reality for you. Now, how frustrating it is for the majority of people on this planet to not know that. See, because of how they've been taught, what they've experienced. So they just think it's random. Or the word comes up all the time, coincidence. There is no coincidence. There really isn't. Coincidence was invented for us to be able to explain things a way that we do not understand. There's no such thing as coincidence. Everything has a purpose. Everything. And we are the master creators of all of it. Everything around us. We affect everything on how we feel. Doesn't matter. And to most of us, it seems subtle, or it doesn't. We don't see it, right? But it affects everything around you. Whatever is going on within you is going on outside of you. Prove it. It's a fact. It's a proven fact. So once we begin to look at that and say, well, it makes sense to me that in the event that I want to create something, whatever it may be, I'm going to be aware of it. I'm going to be aware of that thought. I'm going to know that thought, and then you'll be good about that thought. You're not going to create things, eventually, you will not create things that cause you disruption. Okay? Sometimes we'll create things so that we can learn and experience. And some of those things we go, why would I create that? This is crazy. And they say, well, they're going through this. And you go, well, it's because you created it. What are you learning from it? And we're always learning. You could be 200, 300, 400 years old, and you're learning. We always are taking in different forms of information. Now, most of us don't realize that. We're kind of like in this layer of the matrix where we don't pay attention to it. We really don't. What are we usually focused on? We are focused on things that haven't happened yet, and we're also focused on things that have already happened. Isn't that strange? Or you could say yesterday and tomorrow. But that's where most of us are. We're either looking at tomorrow and focused on it, or at times we go into yesterday and focus on that. Where does that leave us? We're not moving forward. We're not in the now. And then in the yesterday and tomorrow, ego mind, we suffer. Different ways. Disappointments, interruptions, letdowns, all of it, attachments, expectations. Only in the ego mind does that occur. Heart-minded or the now, none of that exists. You see why we designed it to be motivational. Because as we go deeper within ourselves, we begin to realize that, wait a minute. Where do I want my attention to go? Where do I want it to go? Do I want it to go over here because I'm irritated, angry, upset, worried, stressful, fearful? Do I want to spend that energy over there? And these are things that's up to us that we will ask ourselves. You kind of stop, right? And you say, I don't care to put my energies on that stuff. I know what it's like. I've done it dozens of times, thousands of times. And I just don't care for it. I would rather focus my attention on the things that I desire or want in my life, the kind of life you want to live, right? How you live it, the things that you want to attract into it. And nothing does it for us. You know, anytime you hear, you're going to hear this too, as we continue to transform. You're going to hear people saying, well, you know, we've got this new technology that will just snap of fingers and fix you all. You won't have to do anything, you won't have to lift a finger. You won't experience anything, really. And all done for you. Now, your response is, wow, that's great, that's wonderful. But then you take a step back and say, how am I going to learn? If everything's done for me, how am I going to learn? You imagine if everything was done for everybody on the planet and they didn't have to lift a finger ever? Wow, that would be a real mess. I think we all know that. So it's almost like you're a master artist, right? And you have this big white canvas in front of you. And you're sitting there and you have your palette of colors, and you have your brushes, and you're going, now, what am I going to create for me? And you start painting. And you might have a landscape and a house over here and then over here, friends, true friends. And then just a lot of happiness and joy and bliss. Now, if someone were to look at the painting, they probably wouldn't see that. The only important part about it is that you see it for you. That's why you hear, through the years, you've heard me say it's all about you. And it is. Because you're the one that is going to design everything. You're going to put it all together. Even if you put it in pieces, one step at a time. Right? Or you create the world for yourself. It's not make-believe. Okay? You don't separate, you don't move yourself in the position of, being in a cave somewhere. The greatest teachers that any of us will ever experience on this planet, or anywhere else for that matter, is ourselves. Is each other. There isn't a university on this planet that can come close to that. None whatsoever. Not even a smidgen. We have this deeper truth inside of us. It's who we really are is beyond the physical world. It really is. Yes, we gods are in these bodies to experience material physical life. Learn. Now, who we really are beyond the physical world, which is what enables us to manifest anything in it. So the God comes into the body, right? And the God's the power. So the God, once we discover this, most haven't, and we know that, okay, so this vessel's temporary. While I'm in this vessel, it's outfitted for the God to direct, like direct the ego mind. Use it as a tool and not have it as a master. And to create everything for ourselves. Only while we're in this body. we're able to do that. Now, we have that, but we don't really use it. Isn't that amazing? And we were taught that that's not where it's at. You know, when you're taught from a child through adulthood and then onward, pretty much you believe it. And what you believe, you create. So it's got constant pace, right? You got this big private track. It's like a road. This is maybe 5-6 miles in diameter. It's on private property. You got a little pond and some pine trees. And so all you do is you go around the circle. And at times you notice the surroundings. So, well, that's a beautiful tree. That's the God that I am. And you just travel along. After a while, you've seen everything. You've taken all of it in. And then it becomes a moot point because you've traveled it so many times. And the trees will change, you know, with the fall colors and winter and summer and spring. That's different. But for the most part, you're traveling in a circle. And you're really not going anywhere. Most of us right now are in that existence. The people never really go anywhere, but they believe they do. So they create kind of a fake wilderness, if you will. Not the road, so you experience the wilderness, you're going, and you keep going, and there's always something new, and there's always something spectacular or unspectacular. So as we do this, but as you journey, you don't see that again. You're only seeing it for that time. And as you move forward, you see new things. You interact with different things. But when you're in a circle, it's okay for a while, and then we get into our comfort zone. And then we pretty much lay back. This is why a lot of us will stay somewhere and never leave. And when we have the opportunity to leave, we kind of nix it. Got everything I want right here. I don't need to do anything else. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at. It's almost like when you stop existing. When anybody introduces something new to you, different, you're not, you've never really thought about it or given it any attention. And so someone comes along and says, hey, a group of us are getting together, we're going to go do this. And you become, why don't you come? Be fun. And you say, got all these things that come up, right? Oh, I'm too old to do that. Or, nah, it's not my thing. Or, I'm fine where I'm at. And you feel this uneasiness. You almost feel like, maybe you could, and not really. And so you just nix it and say, no, hey, you guys have a great time. I got other things to do. Or I'm too busy, or no, I've got this to do or that to do. And we slowly but surely dig ourselves in to this deep rut. Now, it's not a negative, it's what we create for ourselves. You've probably met people that's what they choose. They like that. It's that comfort. Not a new adventure. No. Just what they've created in that nest. Period. And they're very uncomfortable when they're pulled to leave it to experience something new. You can see that on this planet. Don't you see how things are so redundant? Like that road, the circle, 6 miles with the pond and the trees. You see it, don't you? You're not judging it. You're just going, wow, this is very familiar. Many of us aren't aware that we have existed in physical form from the days of Pompeii to Egypt to anything. It doesn't mean we were famous. It just means that we were in physical bodies for a long time. We were in physical bodies in the last deluge, in the earth changes, for millions of years. It's not like, okay, so I've been incarnating for a few thousand years. It isn't like that. That can't be, because we're all part of the one, and we're always experiencing across existence, across the great expanse, across pure consciousness and beyond. We're one collective consciousness that any of us, and we will learn to experience that. We will choose to be here and here rather than just there. We will be able to plug into all the knowledge bases of all creation that has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever. Like that. It won't be arduous or heavy duty or stretching and gripping and pulling. It will be automatic. And it won't be ego-minded. It will be heart-minded. It's a matter of fact, let's say. All right? With that, we have gained super responsibility. We know in heart-mindedness and deep eternal love, we react a different way totally. Since everything is us and we are everything. And then we respect ourselves through the journey within and all things. So we're not killing each other. We're not destroying things. We're not striving for super advancement, right, technologically wise, because that can become a whole other can of worms. What we're doing is, see, it isn't technology. It is spirituality. That's the key. There are civilizations in existence that have traveled the road and have come into the purity of enlightenment. And they're spiritually highly advanced. Do they have, things that blow up and disintegrate and do this and that? No, they don't need them. See, when I say we have everything we will ever need, that's literal. While we're in these bodies, we have everything we will ever need on this great journey that really never ends. And when we see, it's when you identify that. It's when you, for you, okay, discover that. And it isn't ego-minded, and you're not going, I'm powerful, oh boy. It isn't that way. It's a knowing. You just know, right? You're not doubting. Right? You're not, the ego mind's not trying to, bust the door in and take you over here. You, you know. It's a feeling. It's total confidence, total faith, and total trust in yourself in this universe. Never bends. Gets to the point where it never breaks, never disintegrates, it just strengthens. The inevitability is for all of us is that the day will come where all we do is desire something and it's there. When we want something, it's there. Doesn't that make sense? Now, do we stop learning? No, we're still experiencing all kinds of things. You might create something for yourself and say, I thought this was going to be great, but now that I have it, it doesn't do it for me, right? You're grateful, and so you vanish it. And then you come back and you say, I've got to be more detailed about this, and let's see what comes in. So you're more detailed, and it comes in and you go, that's it. That fits, with a little bit of help from the universe. That's literal. We can create anything we desire. There's no limitations. But see, the first step is mastering the ego mind and our thoughts. You can see how dangerous that could become in the event we didn't do that. Right? it would be an absolute mess. So we're transitioning from the ego mind to the mind, the heart mind. And the heart mind is overseeing the ego mind, which is, the heart mind is much more powerful. But slowly but surely, the ego mind begins to recede. Because like I've said, all it's seeking is peace. But it believes that peace is out there. It's out there. That's where you're going to find peace. And it's within us. Love is within us. Romantic love is a very small part of the deep eternal love. Okay? That love is the God that we are. And we're all heading that way. And we're all learning massive amounts for ourselves. Because it's all about you. You picture and you're seeing something. And you perceive it a certain way. You listen to others, right? You read and you listen. And it may change. It may shift. But for you, that's what your perception is. And that's not negative at all. But as time goes by, we all participate with each other. Doesn't mean that we're entertaining a group of people in our homes or something. Not like that. It means that we are always interacting 24/7. The gods that we are. And this is how we will create a God-plant paradise. Joining in meditation, I'll return to close this out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still, relaxed into your body, focused on the breath, rising and falling. Maybe hard to believe this, with all the insecurity and craziness going on in your life, yet at the very core of your heart is your soul. And this spiritual center is super soft, kind, considerate, and delicate. What's even more unbelievable is that this same soft presence is inside everyone you know. Everyone. Even those really hard ones who tend to argue with you. Perhaps they're the most squishy because their exterior walls are extra prickly, tough, and guarded. Truth is, we are all deeply connected to this sweet healing feeling inside. Every human being has a soul, even the ones who behave like they don't. Whenever you encounter a cold, prickly person in this life, just remember how enjoyable it is to relax into this soft, sweet energy inside you. Your soul is so frickin' beautiful. It's like the most pure and wonderful, super juicy dazzleberry that's only found in a very special section of this universe. Take even more time today to relish in and enjoy the true sweetness of you. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night and following morning. And we'll return here tonight, Wednesday, January 29th, 2025, after 9:15 p.m. Eastern, for our TFCC call. And Thursday, January 30th, 2025, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest, purest of the purest, purest, eternal gratitude at all times. No matter what's going on within you or outside of you. Open your heart and allow the magic to flow in.